Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. And you mix in there in the conversation about entrepreneurs. Now, I have had a somewhat interesting experience with entrepreneurs. Right now, those that are more into or develop their own e-commerce for their business tend to understand the advancement, right? From, okay, this is what Amazon is today, and then this is what Amazon is going to be tomorrow, right? They understand that because they've seen the progress of even in the technology for e-commerce, right? And drop shipping and all of this other things that have come around now that people have, let's say, come up with the concept of combining technology with logistics and doing DAOs, right? Decentralized automated organizations. So this allows, an entrepreneur of a certain thinking. And this is where I think the serial entrepreneur, someone who has always had the inkling to have side hustles, I think will flourish in the first few decades of Upland and even the Web3 as a whole, because you'll have to, like you said earlier, Upland and these metaverses are going to constantly be giving us new functions, new utilities, new assets, right, on their platform. And so you're going to have to be able to say, oh, I can use that for this for that, and this other thing for this other way, right? And so you'll have to be able to know how each side hustle, how each thing is going to affect your overall gameplay, for lack of a better word, right? Or stakeholding. When I came in, the Spark Exchange had just started or was just starting to be announced. And so I came in thinking I can start something like that too, because I saw the market needed a place to also have a marketplace for Spark. And then they ran with it and became amazing. I had to, cut that out. And what blew me even more away was the fact that it wasn't Upland who beat me to the punch. It was another Uplander. And then as that happened, more Uplanders came up with greater ideas for function and utility for Upland. I then had to change my whole thinking on Upland as a whole. And I think as an artist, it lent me to understand it and accept it a lot easier than we've been able to see in general chat and some other people's, for example. But outside of that, beyond what Ida and Zuckerman, one of the founders, and my conversations with Dirk personally has given me the full impression, and this is where my artist, pickle was tickled in a sense, is that they were like, yeah, that's the whole point. We're here to prove that it works on the platform. It's your job to amplify it. Yeah. And I did a, sinking room feeling where I was like, wait, so you're just telling me you're giving me the blank canvas and all these art supplies and then I can create the artwork? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And you brought up earlier something may not be there once, and I was like, so all these little bubbles were starting like, oh my gosh, okay, so I can, as an artist, photographer, someone who gets inspired by the real world, I can capture street art, which is my first love, and give it value there. It may not be here ever again. So this one NFT that I captured of it may be the only living record that it ever existed.
Oh my goodness. Can I say something to you?
Yes, go ahead.
We're so much alike in a lot of ways. So I had this idea like a few years ago. I started taking pictures of street art. I'm not a tagger. I never did it. But actually recently in VR, I started practicing. Anyways, but aside from that, I used to take pictures of it when I stop and pull over. I go searching it out. And I was like, I'm going to make a website called Preserved, because this is art and someone's going to paint over it. And so I have all these pictures that I never got all the way uploaded. And then I started worrying about copyright, because people are like, oh, someone might copyright you because that's their art. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. So I had to look into it. So my legal side was like, okay, I have to look into it because I'm a photographer. It is public view. So anyways, bottom line is I kind of stopped on my website idea, but I still have I was still like, that's really a great thing. So in Upland, just like you, well, I take snapshots of some great street art that I'll see from my property views. I posted a few on Instagram. Instagram, because I'm like, this is like such a nice piece, and like I see this from my street view. Like I would never seen this if I hadn't been in Upland right now, just looking at this view. And then who knows if it's still there, because you know it might be gone. So yeah, I feel like that is like capturing art in Upland. That's my that was the thing I meant. Like that's what I was talking about earlier. Like yeah, you can just snap it. This is real art. Like
yeah.
So,
yeah, no, totally. It's that idea is what solidified my movement towards creating a Upland card set called Monopolized. And because I like you, I love the Monopoly aesthetic, the concept of it, and what I'm doing is creating for our founders, creating these plaques in a sense of their never sell properties, right? Things that they want to hold on for a long time, which
that's smart
to monopolizing their place in Upland. And then I attach the VR to it, or AR, depending on what they choose. But moving on to like the whole community aspect, let's piece it all together. Is in 10 years, let's say a decade passes, you have your assets, your content has gone the way you want it to, the linking to Etsy shops, easy. Now, at what point does mass adoption, we talked about this a little bit earlier, happen? Does it come within the decade or after the decade? Will this be?
Honestly, I think because of the recent release of those developer tools, that we might see mass adoption way sooner, like within that 10 years, just because it just takes one developer to make something so addicting that everybody starts wanting to jump in and learn Upland just to get to that, whatever that is. And so with all these developers and all their potential, I mean, honestly, we might see it explode any year now. Because if who knows, Mario Bros or the next Fortnite suddenly is actually through Upland, and people are just addicted. It just takes that one developer to get a Web 2 experience that people have to come into Upland to get to that experience. That everything just. So I think awesome. Hopefully within 10 years, especially because in their recent Upland little preview of, hey, we have these developer tools. They're like VR. So they said VR, and like, so I'm like, if VR gets hooked into Upland soon, and while Meta's trying to do its thing, and people, and maybe and Apple goggles is coming out with their own little VR stuff, like VR is expanding. So that's just another way if those people get into it, and then VR is looking for games or like experiences, like they want something too. So I just like it's the door has been opened.
Yeah. And it's crazy because as artists, I think, again, that's where we find comfort in this whole space, is that 90% of all of this is experience. 90% of experience in this realm and in technology is visual. Yes, eventually the, touch sensitivity stuff will come in, but for the foreseeable future, like you said, in the 2 to 5 or 10 years that mass adoption happens, that it's going to be a visual thing. It's visual augmentation, virtual augmentation of your visual space. So maybe that's where we as artists find like, oh, we know what that's like already. Like this
our
is
time.
A visual aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's a 2D version of a virtual background.
Yeah, like really, that's like artists right now are so. Well, unfortunately, I feel like it's like mostly like you have to have some digital art skills or be able to link up with somebody who has them that can convey your vision. Yeah. But I feel like if you can work digitally, then then it's literally our moment as artists. Like everything can be that you can recreate. Yeah. Everyone wants it. Like, hey, can you make my Pepsi can? Can you make my Nike shoes? Like, I really want my Tiffany bracelet so I can wear it on my avatar. You know what I mean? It's like, if you can design and figure out things or just create great spaces. Wow. Like, I just want a coffee room or coffee, what are they called? Not coffee, coffee lounge, so I can chill in my VR coffee lounge at my lunch break.
Yep. So, kind of escape reality for a minute and then hang out with a friend somewhere else, come back.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea. Yes.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love, again, having these conversations with big thinkers. It allows not only for myself, but for our viewers to be able to start, in my opinion, kind of breaking out of this, Upland is a game shell. It has gamification. There are games on there. But I think the more we're starting to understand that, the property flipping aspect is really evolving into a real estate company, because I have to think about, well, am I going to be buying and flipping raw land? Do I want to have a development or develop on it? And then in the future, what kind of market expansion can I get into, leasing or renting spaces, living units or the whole building itself, to entrepreneurs who want to open a meta venture in Upland?
Yeah.
It looks like it's changing now. I guess we can tie this all up with, imagine my monopolized idea, your preserved idea, being or coming together with other artists, programmers, animators that are good on Blender, to be able to say, hey, let's have a community level project that is the capturing the imagery of these properties worldwide where we are, putting them together into one let's say NFT account, and saying this is the visual representation of the Upland universe as we know it today. It would be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because I have about 300 of these cards done. That once I hit 1,000, I think that's when my standard to be able to put it on Atomic Hub, which is where we have our store.
It's even okay. So getting back to your art, Upland, and your gallery. So if right now there's this, I'm not going to name the app because I don't want to give anybody business. I don't want people looking them up. But there's an app already that says, oh, here's your little metaverse, and you can come inside VR and look at your art, and you can display your art on the wall in your little place here, right? And so now I'm like, if you had all of your your monopolized cards, there people could show up at one of your properties, right? And then go in and enter VR and tour all your cards, and then pick one to buy. You know what I mean? Or, if you're selling them, I'm not sure. So, then, maybe they could transfer it to their own Atomic Hub or whatever. But it's that's why I feel like Upland could head there really soon, especially because this other app looks kind of like if they manage that, Upland developers, I feel like now that we have these doors open, we should be able to have our NFT galleries already come to where you could be in VR space and look at that stuff. Yeah, it's you can hook up with so many people and have them contribute to your space. It'd be, I don't know, there's just so many possibilities there.
There is, and if we're talking about a technical function for the venue aspect, it can be done with just allowing a building to have an external link attached to it,
right?
Because there's so much already VR content out there that you brought up the Google Maps views earlier. Mm-hmm. Well, they're transitioning to be full 360 VR views. Yeah. So to just link up the existing street view for some of these properties to our VR headsets would be an amazing expansion of user experience.
I like the phone thing. Have you done that rotation with the 360 view?
Yeah, I love that.
I'm like, they need, I feel like, if you could just let me hook my VR goggles to this, and I'm walking down the street right now.
Yeah, no, totally. A lot of that, I think, and again, goes to Uplander generated content, which brings the Uplander generated value, in my opinion. I've already started to try to produce as much of stuff in the 360 VR space as possible. We have a concert that we recorded that we're going to test a concert pilot system. Now we don't have the venue options in game yet, but there are bridges, and that's the one thing that we've really strived hard at the Board Uplander Club, is to create a bridge for the mass market, which includes businesses, into the Web3. Not necessarily Upland itself, because a lot of our initial workings with a couple of brands that we're bringing into Upland has been understanding the NFT space, the NFT market, and the NFT marketplaces. So like, why choose Atomic Hub over OpenSea or Rarible? You know, particularly with business owners that are not or becoming familiar with this, they'll hear what is on the, you know, the zeitgeist in the media, be able to have them understand the space as, okay, you have to get through this part first. Just have your stuff in NFT form and have a brand in the Web3 space already is the start. Then you slowly start to transition into Upland, because there's so much gamification explanation I've come to understand that you have to get through that aspect first before you even get to explain why the marketplace investments or staking is worth it now. Yeah, because where the gamers are, that's where the business will be. You start selling gamer stuff, then the gamers will shop. Eventually, the gamers will be just one of the many people that come to shop there. Because like with you, I've been trying to attach a lot of in-game assets, the block explorers in particular, to real world products. So currently I have a couple of promotions where you buy the Father's Day mug and you get a 420 friendly mug in exchange. So you can buy one, get the other one as a combo. But you know, what I've also noticed is that we're still having to deal with a lot of people that are coming in from the crypto space. And so anonymity is a thing, which the DAO system perfectly fits into that mental space, because they can buy the NFT or the block explorer and hold off on getting that you know, real life attachment delivered to them, because they might actually use that as part of their selling point. Like, hey, I bought this block explorer, it comes with a 420 mug, do you want to buy the block explorer? Because you'll get the mug with it. And then that second person, third person will eventually do that. And you brought up earlier, like, oh man, you know, like if you see how much block explorers are being sold for, then I'm able to turn to the business owner and say, this is what your hoodie can be sold for. It's you know, you have it in store at 65, and that's kind of chump change for a one-of-one block explorer in Upland. Let's attach the two, where somebody can spend $200 and get their hoodie, you know, along with it. And, or your artwork.
You're smart. You know. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, you know, I don't want to get too big on this. We'll expand on this because, as we mentioned earlier, you know, the Upland metaverse does keep expanding. It keeps expanding our minds with it, our abilities, our imagination. So, BleuRain, thank you so much for joining us on the special episode of the Bored Uplander Show. Any last famous words?
My last famous words are: I do hope myself to have an NFT project come out. So look for my character in my story that's already out. Let's call it "It's Okay to Be Sad." I invented a little character called Fuzzycorn, and that illustration I am hoping to make a block explorer someday, but also link it eventually to my books. So that's like in my future. So you know, get yourself if anyone buys my book and wants to send it to me for a free autograph, I'll send it back to you. So yeah, that's all.
All right, well, I'm gonna do that for sure now. Everybody watching this, do that for sure now. And thank you for doing that. I personally suffer from bipolar, and so I'm in the mental health system myself. And we actually have a founder that is in the same aspect also. Shout outs to Meta God Roger. God actually is an acronym for getting over depression.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's and again, maybe because we're such big thinkers.
Yep. I know.
You know, we have issues with the sensitivities of the world that we have to bear.
I know. No, I feel you for sure. So yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate this so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.